Our next Tony nominee, well, our first Tony nominee, our next guest, is the choreographer of Spring Awakening. So that's a pretty exciting show with a pretty exciting choreography. He may even win, which would be kind of cool. So his name is Bill T. Jones. He's come out of the dance world, mostly, to start doing. This is his
hang on the phone, caller. We'll get to you.
We'll get to you.
It's what he did with the hands in that show.
Yes.
Forget the feet. It was the hands.
That was thrilling. Well, let's ask him himself. Here's Bill T. Jones. Well, it is the show with perhaps the biggest buzz of all the shows that opened this past season on Broadway. And in a lot of the ways, the most exciting show and one of the most thrilling parts of it, of Spring Awakening, is the choreography, which is somewhat different from what you would normally see in a Broadway musical. And the person responsible for it is on the phone with us now. His name is Bill T. Jones. He's been a choreographer for quite a while, and we're going to be talking to him right now on the Tony Special. Hello, Bill.
Oh, hi. How you doing? Great to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you on the show. So, is this must be your first Tony nomination. Is it your first Broadway show as well?
Yes, it is. It is. I have worked off-Broadway, of course, but I've never worked on Broadway, and it's very exciting.
Well, how is working on a Broadway-level musical different from working on an off-Broadway one?
Well, I must say that this show was so disciplined and so experimental, even down at the Atlantic Theater, bless them for believing in the show, that there wasn't a great sea change in the way we worked. The writers, the director, and the producers did want to re-emphasize certain things in moving it to Broadway. I believe they expanded the cast a bit. We have more swings, we have more musicians. But for the most part, it really has been able to retain that feeling it had down at the Atlantic Theater.
And were you with it from the very, very beginning stages when Stephen Sater and Duncan Sheik were first working on the musical, or at what point?
No, I was not. I understand that they worked on this for about 6 years. I think it's in its 8th year now, before it got to its present stage. And I was invited in I believe, February of 2006.
2006. So had there already been some choreography done, or did you come in with a clean slate?
I don't think there had been any choreography done. I know there was a kind of a staged reading of the work up at Lincoln Center, and that was where the music I first heard. But no, I don't believe there was any choreography.
And I know it's kind of hard to describe something that is so physical and involves movement, but when you heard the songs and when you knew what the show was going to be, what was in your mind to work from to create the physicalization of the dance of Spring Awakening?
Well, I think that Michael Mayer gave me a great insight when he said that he would want to, first of all, cast it with people who are very young and not Broadway regulars. And he asked me to look at a clip from some young man on YouTube or MySpace who was literally in his boxer shorts, in his bedroom, bopping around a la Napoleon Dynamite style to some innocuous rock song and singing along with it. And he said, I want to get that kind of feeling. Now, of course, our performers have a lot more charisma than that, and it's much more disciplined than that. But I understood what he wanted. He wanted something casual. He didn't want grand jetés. He didn't want pirouettes. He wanted it to feel as real as possible. And then I think what really finished it for me was when he said that at the moments when they would be singing their soul, singing their heart, they would reach inside their jacket or what have you and pull out a microphone. Here they are dressed in period costumes from Bavaria in the late 19th century. So I said, oh, that's where it's going. Gesture was going to be very important. Gesture is something that people can do at any level of skill, and I thought that was my way in.
Yeah, I noticed also that on a couple of times during the show, you have very specific arm movements from elbow to fingers. It's almost like voguing, from what I know of dance. It looks like voguing to me.
No.
Was that part of it, or did that come to you as like, oh, I need those arm things?
Well, it's a vocabulary I have used for a long time, and like I say, in touring around doing contemporary dance and being in residence in a place in the community that maybe does not have a lot of professional dance, but people would like to do something for the stage, you can always ask people to generate their own basic arm gestures or hand gestures, and then you can do quite a few of them. It becomes quite impressive when you see 50, 100, 200 gestures zipping by you like that. this is the idea. This is the basic way I would start with people who are non-dancers. There was something about the fragility of that first scene with beautiful, virginal Vinva, and she is standing in front of a mirror, looking at her body, which is, as her mother says, in bloom, and she is sort of singing to her mother, but I think she's actually singing to her future and her destiny, and she sort of begins to do these simple gestures, and I say that the gestures are speaking, her body is speaking in ways that she doesn't know it can speak, and it's asking questions that she does not know she has. So that's how the gestures begin. Simple, almost absent-minded movements around a young body that is changing. These gestures then become a language that unifies all of the young people as the piece goes on.
Man, that is great explanation. I wish I were writing a textbook about it, because I would just excerpt that paragraph right there. That was beautiful. Let me ask you then also about the beginnings of your career and how you became a choreographer to begin with. Were you a dancer first and then blah, blah? Blah, 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 as the song goes?
You have to realize I come from a farming community in upstate New York, German, Italian, potato farmers. The town next to us was Naples, New York, with grapes and so on. My parents were there as migrant workers. In answer to your question, no, there was no modern dance there. There was, in the next town 10 miles away or so, there was tap class. There were tap classes that I understood, but my parents were too busy working in the fields or wherever. We were never taken. I always wanted to. I did have drama club. Now, that was great. Mary Lee Shapey, may you rest in heaven. She was my drama teacher, and she saw that the show-off that I was needed some direction, and so she allowed me to do public speaking, and I was in debate club, and I was actually in Oklahoma at our high school production. I did the Buddy Hackett role of
Shapoopy.
You want me to sing it for you?
Yes. Yeah, come on, you got to do a line of Shapoopy. Come on.
I'm sorry. Oh, woman who kissed on the very first date is usually a hussy. That's the first line. But anyways, I was just sort of feeling the ham. My inner ham wanted to get out, and so stage was a good place for that. But I was primarily interested in being an actor and an athlete. I went to the university with that idea in mind, and I got sidetracked, or I should say, sidewhacked by modern dance. I fell in love with it, as I've said many times, the sweaty epiphany that came with really working in a non-competitive way, unlike the track and field. But it was a way with another kind of sweat. It was more poetic, and then I was hooked. Dance was my world, and choreography came a bit later. At first, it was just about being fabulous on stage, But later on, I understood it was a language and a history, and I wanted to know more about that language. Well,
up until, I guess, Spring Awakening, if people knew you a little bit further than inner dance circles, it would be for your work with Arnie Zane.
Yes, it's true. Arnie Zane was my co-founder and my companion from 1970, maybe fall of 1970 until he died in 1988. And the company keeps his name, Bill T. Jones, Arnie Zane Dance Company.
Right. And how would you describe the style that you guys pioneered and that you still work in?
Well, it has changed, as all things have changed, my body in particular. But we started out interested in it was always gestural-based, a lot of gesture, but we were also interested in what we call the kind of naturalistic virtuosity. Now, what that meant was we did fan-lock gymnastics. We crashed and jumped around, and we were also practitioners of something called contact improvisation, which was based on principles of leverage, counterpull. So literally, anybody could dance with anybody. It was very democratic. I remember once this woman was able to do it through leverage. She was a 98-pound former ballerina.
Yeah.
She and I were dancing, and she had me completely up on her back, just because of the way she would use leverage, almost like jiu-jitsu or something. And that was a great liberating device that taught us that we could think differently about partnering. It didn't mean there was the big brutish male dancer partnering the sylph-like woman on her toes. It could be anybody working with anybody, and that style has informed our whole thinking about the stage. Actually,
can you name any specific choreographers, either in the modern dance world or in the theater world, that were huge influences on you, or Broadway shows?
Well, I'll tell you. You have to imagine being a young black boy and upstate New York in 1962 and leaving the Wayland Cinema. I don't think it's even a cinema anymore there, and we had just seen Jerome Robbins' West Side Story. My brother Azel and I, who were basketball players, and we were so impressed with those jets who were able to turn 2-3 times, and we were running down the street pretending we were jets and doing what we thought were jetés and all. That might have been my first choreographic exploration other than the June Taylor dancers on the Jackie Gleason show, but that didn't stick in the same way. It was when I was in the university, I was introduced to West African Caribbean dance by Percival Board. Merce Cunningham to date is probably the choreographer I have the most respect for, because he's taken this very potentially esoteric dance form and he's made a language and a lifetime preoccupation with it that has inspired many people. I wouldn't be where I am right now without the likes of Alvin Ailey. I never danced with Alvin, but Alvin was very kind to me, and he spoke to certain parts of my experience that helped me have the courage to do what I'm doing. And right now I am really crazy to see what is happening with the likes of Billy Forsythe, John Jaspers, Trisha Brown. All those people are very, very exciting to me now.
But they're all working still in the dance idiom. Is there anybody working in the theater idiom that you are excited about?
Well, I think Matthew Bourne is very good. I think he has the ability to tell stories in a really wonderful way, and I think he's a true showman. I think he's the one that's probably your theater audience probably knows the best.
From Swan Lake, and he just did Edward Scissorhands.
Yes. Right. I had a great pleasure of sitting on a panel with Jerry Mitchell and Susan Stroman, and I was very moved by hearing the way they talk from the inside about this and the skill that they show. They really know how to tell a story with movement, and I think they're really great.
Well, I hate to wrap this up, but we kind of have to with Bill T. Jones, the Tony-nominated choreographer for Spring Awakening. I guess the usual question is, okay, the show's up, it's running, I'm sure it's going to tour. What you working on now?
Well, other than my company, working on a piece called The Quarreling Pair, a crazy puppet play from the 1940s by Jane Bowles, I am also developing a show on the life of the inventor of Afrobeat, Fela Kuti. And those persons out there who know this radical revolutionary, jailed over 200 times, who was trying to talk about a corrupt Nigerian government and making wonderful, do I dare say, kick-ass music. At the same time, I'm developing a show with the dramaturg Jim Lewis that we hope to be opening maybe in another 2 years.
On Broadway, right?
Called, yes, off-Broadway to begin, but, the sky's the limit.
That's right. And
it's going to be called Fela's Alive.
Fela Alive?
Fela is alive.
Fela is alive. Well, you've certainly put a lot of life into Spring Awakening and helped make it a very exciting show. Oh, I'm so grateful that the way I've been received by the Broadway community. I'm very moved by it. Well, great. And we're very, very happy to have you as part of the WGBB Tony Special. Best of luck on Tony night. Thank you. Good luck, Bill T. Jones. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.